Hello there, Jana from the future here to drop some additional warnings that we missed initially or that are just applicable before the designated warning section of the podcast. So, first of all, around 6 minutes in, I mention a bomb being found in my city, which is a common occurrence, and if you want to know all about it, you can find it under outtakes on Patreon. I cut like a 10-minute tangent. That got us nowhere. But yeah. Mention of a bomb that was detonated in a controlled fashion and everyone was fine afterwards. A thing mentioned in this episode, so be warned. More content warnings that slipped through. A lot of discussion of sexual content. Like we drift off into that so much. Discussions of dicks, dragon gods, and most disturbing of all, kink and pride discourse via Twitter. Be warned, all ye who enter. On a less fun note, mentions of slavery of the not fun kind. Additionally, the spoiler warnings are incomplete, as I would by now consider that to be heavy spoilers for Campaign 2 of Critical Role, specifically regarding reveals that happened post-episode 99, and in the penultimate episode in one case. Just kind of crucial details, and if you would like to remain unspoiled, maybe skip this episode. I might have pointed it out in the YouTube annotations that I copy into the podcast metadata on the apps. Maybe you can find your way around it. I can give no guarantees though. And lastly, we once again drift off into making jokes about Assassin School, which is for assassins, and then say we're not going to get into it. But, in fact, we did go into it. If you would like to hear our thoughts on that tidbit and just Vex's depiction and supplementary materials in general, you can check it out as a Patreon exclusive for patrons of any tier. As 2 people have done already. Like, people are paying for this. It's more than we ever expected. It's a little bit surreal. Okay, anyways, so with all of that out of the way, enjoy this episode. Bye! Hello and welcome to Critical Rollback,
where we always advise that you talk to strangers, especially if they have tentacles.
I'm Jana.
And my name is Vol.
And we are once again here to take you back to simpler times, when episodes were short. And not very complex.
Hours. 2.5 hours. Can you believe 2.5 hours?
I can't. It's weird.
I mean, looking at the episode itself, I can't believe it's 2.5 hours because not much happens, but...
That is true. I mean, we have been saying that about every episode so far.
I would say that this episode, comparatively, has the most goings-on.
It has, we are, definitely on track for a plot right now. It's just that we are very on track for a plot, and the plot is just waving at a distance and throwing crumbs over a crevasse.
Oh, God, what a metaphor.
I worked very hard on that in the last two seconds. You're welcome.
Yes. Well done. Giving you
right?
the episode metaphor. I'm giving you the best metaphor of the episode award within the first 2 minutes of the recording, which is very impressive.
Thank you so much. I feel so honored. Since when is that a thing?
Since exactly now.
Yay! We're just making the format up as we go. Woo!
Yes, we are. So this episode, we are going over episode 3 of Vox Machina, the Vox Machina campaign, campaign 1, CR1,
the only
you want to call it.
The only one we will ever talk about unless you pay us a lot of money.
Never say never, dear.
I'm selling out before we've even launched. Isn't this great?
This episode came out on March 26th, 2015.
And if you have listened to our first episode, which I do recommend, but also I'm very sorry about my audio issues there. We have no idea how that could happen. We hope it will never happen again. I have
they
a
probably
lot of...
will.
Well, whatever. In that episode, I had a lot of Pillars of Eternity on the brain, because I felt like Matt had Pillars of Eternity on the brain, and now we have reached the point in which it came out. Whoa. They say that before the game starts.
Yes.
Also, just for posterity, in case anything regrettable happens and we'll have to cover our asses, time of recording, August 15th, 2021.
August 15th, 2021. This is us waving a little newspaper at you, saying, like, this is the date, these are the headlines.
If anything regrettable happens after this, we cannot be held responsible for what we say here.
I mean, when regrettable things happen. Regrettable things always happen, that's the nature of humanity.
Yeah, but sometimes those regrettable things lead to mobs and cancellations, and sometimes they don't. So, like, covering our asses.
Come at me. I'm ready for you.
You heard it here first, folks. Direct any and all cancellation mobs at her.
I knew they would be coming. I've been ready. I've been working on my Batman bodysuit in my garage. I'm ready for the cancellation mob.
You have a garage?
I don't, but I do have a Batman bodysuit.
Okay.
I in fact have neither, and I don't actually want to be cancelled on Twitter. But like, if we must, I'd rather you cancel me than Jana.
That is very noble of you, but I feel like it is like, nah, let's not get. It's just we're just two humble little girls trying to make a living on the internet. We're not even trying to make a living.
Little girls. We're just trying to sell you some matchsticks in the snow.
We're just trying to have like a justifiable reason to keep rambling at each other about Critical Role, so that's why we monetize some feelings. It's not even monetized. You can listen to this for free.
Sorry, I just entertained myself by imagining one of those, like, you know, those, like, feel-good, capitalistic, like, little hit pieces that are those, like, Twitter videos. It's like, this girl, supplied her college fund by selling cookies. You know that one? I was imagining that for the little matchstick girl.
This girl has financed her town's food bank by selling lemonade on the curb and not knowing how change works. That is two Twitter things in one. And totally not dating this. I mean, we literally dated it, but this is timeless humor, and everyone in the future will understand this.
Yeah, and I was just imagining like that feel-good video, but with the little matchstick girl, like, this little girl is standing in the snow selling matchsticks. She doesn't care about hypothermia.
Literally heartwarming, but not much else. Should have just set some houses on fire. She deserved that.
Should have watched the world burn.
Also, to just put this into perspective, Critical Role Campaign 2 has been over for a while now, and EXU has had its last episode aired a few days before recording.
Last episode of Season 1, as far as we know.
Yes.
It was very
Vaughn
good.
has seen it, I haven't. We're all supposed to be... But it was supposed to be very good.
Please do not spoil Jana, it was very good.
Yeah, don't spoil me in like a month from now when we publish this.
I mean, like, as far as I know, that is a reasonable time for you to not have watched the episode yet.
I've been watching these weekly.
You have it. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks.
Alright, that has been enough banter, I think. Shall we get into the content and spoiler warnings?
And we haven't even talked about our shared birthdays or the bomb.
Oh, shit. We haven't talked about our shared birthdays or the bomb, which are both very exciting. Which would you like to talk about first? Do you want to go chronologically?
Sure. Bal and I, for some really weird, gross reason, sort of share a birthday due to time zones.
Due to time zones, we share like 7 hours of our birthday, right?
9, I think. It's 9.
9 hours. That is not an insignificant portion of time.
So yeah, our 9 hours of a shared birthday happened between this episode and the last.
Yes.
And also today's episode has been a little bit delayed in recording because there was a bomb.
Because there was a bomb and your mom didn't want to drive you through the bomb.
No, she would have driven me around the bomb. Okay, like for the uninitiated, for people living in a country that doesn't deal with this on a regular basis, and by a regular basis I mean this was the second bomb this week, this is Jana's history lesson. You can unlock it for just $2 a month. $1. $1. The history lessons, the outtakes are $1 a month Patreon reward.
You mean this isn't going in the podcast?
You decide, darling, you decide. This is the kind of content you can unlock for just $1 a month.
We will decide in retrospect if this is the kind of content that you get for free or the kind of content that you unlock with $1. Anyway, so shall we get into the content and spoiler warnings? Hello. Welcome to the content warnings for episode 3 of campaign 1 of Critical Role, and some content warnings for our discussion of it, because we will be discussing all of the nasty things. That's our job here. Going into this episode, before you watch it, you should be aware that there is quite a bit of torture, especially towards the front half. Vox Machina have a captive who they then torture for information before executing. Another content warning you should be aware of is that during the prolonged and honestly kind of uncomfortable torture scene, the door guard in question then sort of quasi-threatens / claims that the door guard have captured and eaten Kima. So there's quite a bit of cannibalism reference there. It is later revealed that this is not true. This is a lie. But we do discuss this in this episode, sort of, is that cannibalism? Does it count? There's quite a prolonged discussion about the definition of cannibalism. So if that's something that you would like to avoid, we understand completely. There is very light sexual content referenced, just talking about boners. It happens quite briefly. It's quite easy to skip, but it is there. And going into the spoiler warnings for this particular episode and our discussion of this episode, you should be aware that we do, of course, talk about Campaign 1 as one whole packet, as we mentioned in Session 0, so there is some specific references to later campaign stuff, and also there's some very vague references to the Mighty Nine's sort of planning strategy, but we don't really go into specifics. So that's really all you should be aware of, and thank you very much for joining me here in the content warnings. Have a lovely rest of the episode. Bye!
To someone they're like, hostage situations like this are never comfortable in any kind of D&D game, and they're really not comfortable here.
No, that's definitely going into the uncomfortable points, I think. I was very uncomfortable with the torture. I'm always uncomfortable with torture, especially since, so I play a D&D campaign where we make a point of, not torturing anyone, and we have interrogated people without torturing them.
Good for you. We're going to go into... You can put into the content warnings that the whole torturing thing, or the interrogation scene, is probably going to be the first thing we talk about.
Yes.
That also includes implied quasi-cannibalism, like the hostage claims that they have all eaten Kima and she was delicious, which isn't technically cannibalism, but it is cannibalism. It's, weird.
It's cannibalism spirit. It's kind of like how we call, you know how king snakes, this is not related, it's just me gonna talk about snakes for a while, but you know how we call snakes kings when they are known for eating other snakes? And, in theory, that's not meant to, when you have, a king cobra, or, a king snake, any snake that has king in it generally means that it eats other snakes.
Is that a thing kings are known to do? What the fuck?
maybe the Duragar gang, which we'll get into in a few episodes. But no, it's just a thing that we do. It's just a thing in like biology what we call certain snakes, especially kings. I don't know if it applies to other animals, but it certainly applies to snakes. That just means that they eat other snakes, and generally they don't eat snakes of the same species, but we still consider it like cannibalism in essence.
Okay, but like snakes of the same species are probably closer than dwarves and halflings are.
You say that, but I feel like dwarves and halflings are pretty close.
Really?
A halfling is just a slightly smaller dwarf without a beard, isn't it?
No. Like they look very like in the pictures they look very distinct.
Okay.
Like dwarves are like burly and hairy and non-humany, and halflings are like humans but tiny, you know? Wait, you didn't know because you haven't seen Lord of the Rings. Ha!
Drag me.
Dwarves get hours of makeup, like... hobbits are curly pretty boys, and hobbits are halflings. Curly pretty boys that don't need any more makeup.
I still feel, though, that since we're talking about sapient species, it still counts as a sort of cannibalism in essence. Like, obviously
sapient,
they're not actually...
humanoid species who should know better than to eat each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the and also, like, because... I think that there's also a point of, like, meaning it as cannibalism because, like, the Duragar in particular who talks about doing this is lying.
Oh yeah, she is full on just saying this to upset them.
Yeah, so if she knows that this is going to upset them because of the implications of cannibalism. Like, we've cannibalized your friend and this is insulting. Like, if it really was regarded as just the same as like eating meat, she probably wouldn't feel the need to say it, would she?
Yeah, okay, you can. Yep, that's fair.
This is what I get from taking one listen, listeners, one single class which had a section on cannibalism.
I've had sections on cannibalism a few times that were usually excused.
No, they were often excused in that, but that was just like a discussion of the psychology of cannibalism in regards of like cannibalism for food, as in like what you actually need to eat and like survival cannibalism, and just cannibalism for ceremonial or for warfare or for things like that. They have very different language around them.
Okay, so is this this has been anthropology and also biology with Val. Something else you can get much more of for $1 a month.
Yes.
Maybe you should quit. We should switch the categories around. You get my totally awesome, extensive notes for $1 a month, and you have to pay $2 for this. We'll see. Pretty sure this is more
worth $2.
This is probably worth more than my notes, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's worth at least as much as your notes, if not slightly less. So,
both are byproducts.
We just jumped into the episode, so...
No, we didn't. We can totally repeat all of this later, because we'll see. First of all, we have to talk about out-of-game tidbits. We have a structure.
Yes, we do. We have a structure. So let's talk about out-of-game tidbits.
Yes. So the first thing I want to note is that we open up after some technical difficulties on a picture that is absolutely devastating if you've watched future episodes. Meaning Laura is just alone at the table.
Empty chairs and empty tables for Laura.
Yes, and in case you don't know, they usually have done this where after taking a break, especially dead players, players whose characters are dead. So far, no real people have died at the table. At time of recording. So they leave the table after their characters died and then return when the characters return or they roll a new character. So seeing somebody alone at the table is like, oh god, what has happened here?
What has happened here?
And it's literally going to happen at some point 80 episodes from now.
Yes. This is also a situation where, like, much later on, a solo player at the table with Matt on early meals, like, oh, this is a dream sequence, but
that's a campaign 2 thing.
That's a campaign 2
Not
thing.
quite.
It doesn't really happen in campaign 1.
It's a campaign 2 and one episode 95 thing where some scrying happens.
Yes, it is related to that.
Yes.
Yes. This is a very devastating image, and even without the context, it's still devastating because Laura seems all at her lonesome. Poor little Laura.
Yeah, but I really, really love the moment when, like, we hear somebody approaching and you can tell it is Travis approaching because Laura just starts smiling when she sees him. It's adorable.
They're so cute.
It's just, yeah, you hear his heavy footfalls, but she just is like, ah, and has like a smile, and then it comes to the frame and it's like, ah.
Yeah, this episode has some cute Laura and Travis real life cast moments, like, are we giving him a smooch?
Yes, we've gone over, yeah. So we've gone over the Put on Every Eternity stuff. Yes! Travis, whose character is kind of brain dead, wears shades with X's on the eyes.
Because he is a pill.
What?
He's a laugh rocket. He's hilarious. Travis Willingham. Is that.
Travis Willingham sticks to the bit.
He sure does. He does a lot of things, but stick to the bit he definitely does.
Yep. It's not his most impressive sticking to the bit thing. That's roughly 60 episodes from now.
Yes, roughly 60 episodes exactly, actually. Or maybe 59.
No, 60 episodes exactly from now is, they have audio issues again. And also the one dude at the club trying too hard and getting judged by everyone around you.
Yes. I think that's all of the out of Game Tidbits.
Yeah, in the end of the stream, Matt also says there's like a Dwarven Forge Kickstarter, which he wants us all to donate to, so he can use some pretty tiles on his games in the future. Maybe we'll see. Mm-hmm. I wonder if anything ever came of that.
I can't imagine it did.
Yeah, who would invest into like a literal storage room of Dwarven Forge bits just for a D&D campaign? Or 2, or 20.
Or 20. So, where are we at, Jana? Where does this episode start in relation to the campaign as a whole?
Well, in the last episode, we are on a quest to find Lady Kima, a paladin of Bahamut, whomst is Big Good Dragon. This is sort of mentioned this episode sometimes.
Daddy Big Good Dragon.
Big Good Dragon. Big Good Metallic Dragon. She is looking for some big bad evil under Dwarven City. And Vox Machina has been sent by her friend. Her very good friend.
They're very good friends.
They were once
better friends, but now they're just good friends.
Yes, but they will be better friends soon, again.
Can we be more inseparable?
Are we queerbaiting ourselves right now?
I guess. Very good.
Anyways, so that they were sent by their good friend Allura, the person whomst my depiction in our very pretty, awesome, amazing art by friend of the show Lulafia is from, based on whatever.
Yes.
She is a wizard lady involved in politics and thus not very mobile, so she sent Vox Machina to go find Kima, so they went and did some shenanigans in Dwarf City, Crackhammer. We have, after 2 episodes doing shenanigans there, we have left Dwarf City and are now in the tunnels under Dwarf City.
Last episode ended with them, after fighting some monsters and having some encounters in the Underdark. They encountered some Duragar and some...
some Umberhawks, and we are technically not in the Underdark yet.
Technically, I suppose.
Matt says that we're like at the crest, at the crown, at the very top. This is just like the Crackhammer basement so far, but they're about to go lower into the Underdark proper.
This is just the dark. We're not in the Underdark yet. This is just the dark.
This is the sub-basement dark, not the under-basement dark.
This is normal dark. This is common dark. This is undercommon.
No, undercommon starts in the Underdark, I think.
Anyways.
Right. So, after some combat encounters last episode, they encountered a little brain on legs that did the unfortunate move and kind of slurped up Grog's brain, so he is now at -2 intelligence and brain dead. Hence Travis's bit. And they also captured a female Durgar, which is dark, evil, but no good, very bad news dwarves.
Yes, we have not yet started interrogating that as a concept. But
in fact, we might have forgotten she exists. Oh wait, no, the concept. Yeah, the concept of just bad news, no good, very bad, always evil racism.
Yes.
It's a lot more controversial these days than it was in 2015, but it has always been a very questionable concept, especially for things with like a humanoid intelligence.
Yeah, like when Tolkien did it, it was already like, I don't know how I feel about this jerk.
Yeah, you sure based your evil species on the least pleasant Mongols, huh?
That sure is a concept that is not problematic in the least and will age immediately as soon as you do it.
There's nothing wrong here, go right along.
Yeah, that's so something I love about history. Kind of,
yeah.
Something I love about history is whenever somebody does something shitty and we're like, this was for the time. Generally, it's both correct that, yes, this was the norm for the time, and also it's correct that people were already at the time that it was doing it, questioning it and being like, hey, I don't know if this is cool.
Yeah, by now we have come down very decidedly on the side of this is not cool, but we are still dealing with the fallout of this, especially in things like Dungeons and Dragons that are very entrenched in its early roots, its early core fan base, and a lot of, like, which has also produced many very lovely people willing to go with the times. And a vocal minority of people digging their heels in and refusing to acknowledge there was a problem in the first place. As with every social issue ever.
Yes, I will say that Critical Role specifically gets a lot better at this as time goes on. Even within like campaign 1. This isn't necessarily a campaign 2 exclusive. But it's just they really do get better at like questioning it.
They do, but for the moment they're not really into questioning it yet. And, like, all the Durga we meet are plenty nasty. I think. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, proceed with caution. We do not condone this, and we're pretty sure that nowadays, Matt would do better.
He would. We actually, as you've hinted, we don't really remember that this Durgar lady exists for the first part of the episode.
Yeah, the cast is like trying to figure out what's wrong with Grog.
Yeah, which would be a lot easier if their cleric was here, but she is not. Pike is still away, doing her thing. Alrighty, so they have to do... Well, first of all, they get some sleep so that Keyleth can prepare the necessary spells. Which I imagine...
Did you just skip the entire interrogation scene?
Oh shit, they do that first, don't they?
They figure out that something bad is wrong with Grog and they need a big level spell. And then they remember they have a hostage.
Yes.
You just forgot about. Interesting.
I completely forgot about her. They forgot about her. Everybody forgets about her. I'm so sorry, Durgar Lady number 1.
Just for the record, darling sweetheart duck of my life.
Yes.
You're currently in the Google Docs as Anonymous Duck.
Yay! I'm so happy. So, they interrogate her with some questionable torture methods, including Vax trying very, very hard.
Well, Vax, A or E?
Vax, specifically. I'm actually thinking about... I think Vax does a pretty good job at this until the end. But, Vax, like, doing the thing where he, like, takes the Durgar lady and he, like, drags her over to the cliff's edge and he, like, puts a dagger to her neck and is like, oh, this is the part... That's the end, I know, but, like, I'm really frustrated about this because, like, he says that he drags the Durgar lady over to the cliff's edge and he has a dagger to her throat, right? That's 2 hands. That's 2-handed activity. And then later he says that he takes out another dagger with poison on it and also puts it on and drips poison on her neck. And it's like, with what hand, Vax?
On the 3rd hand.
It's just like him coming up with more points of luck. Like, where's the other hand coming from, Vax? He's just like with his
Yep.
foot dripping blood on her face. Like he has like another, like a third, like a second dagger, like between his teeth, and he's using that to drip poison on her neck. Like what the fuck?
Look, darling. It's a special skill you learn at assassin school, which is for assassins. It's something he knows.
So the only Vax knows. But yes, before that happens, Percy does the thing where he shoots off the list, and then he presses the hot gun barrel to her wounds to cauterize them. This is
Yes. Yeah, I was a little I made a note of this whole cauterization business because they used this later on in the campaign, and then Vax throws a goddamn fit about it. How could they ever go so dark? We'll have words.
They keep that person alive, if I remember.
Yeah. Do they rip out the tongue and cauterize and throw him out of the window? I don't know. It's a thing. We're going to get into it when we get there. But I just like this. Yeah. This entire scene is just, to me, also another hint of how this used to be a different campaign tonally before they started streaming it. Like, this is, like, in the middle of it, you can tell that Laura is, like, getting progressively more uncomfortable with their methods here.
Yeah, I think this was a campaign that more reveled in, like, sort of traditional D&D stuff, like combat, interrogations, things like that. More murder hoboing.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And they have evolved since then.
They have evolved since then, and I'm also like, I don't want to speculate too much because I think that this is a situation where it's like, you can never really know somebody's motives. But I think that there's also, because they can't really get up and be like, okay, there's an interrogation happening, like, let's let Travis do his, like, you know, his Call of Duty shit. Like, when people can't get up from the table when they feel uncomfortable, there's more of a pressure to change the game environment, I think.
Yeah, it sure feels like when they were all at the table together, they could just indulge in some things that other people weren't comfortable with. Now they're sharing it with an audience of thousands, and
yeah, and they're also sharing it with each other in closed quarters,
yes.
So they can't really check out as much as you can in a home game.
Yeah, like you get again, like Laura has to do all the Vex has to do all the questioning because she's the only one who knows Undercommon.
Which is very
you can
sexy
just tell
of her.
that. Absolutely. And you can just tell that Laura is, like, getting progressively less comfortable with this, and at one point they start talking about alignments in a throwaway line, and I have to agree, those interrogation methods are not very neutral good of anyone involved.
No, they are not. There is, like, a very awkward execution thing also. Like, where she's like, and we're gonna kill your god. Now cut her throat, now.
We're gonna kill your god. Pause for the lag, and then die. Bam. Yeah, then there's the cannibalism thing in there that we probably warned you about in the warnings.
Yes.
Like, this Durga lady isn't interested in telling them shit about anything, so she just lies through her teeth.
Yeah, which I respect. This lady is
oh yeah.
Know, she goes hard. She's ready to die for this, and, like, I respect that.
Nothing left to lose. Might as well piss off your captors.
Yep. But you can't, I mean, like, you have to admit that this is big strap energy, right?
Is this what we're calling it now?
Sure.
Big strap energy. Okay, yeah, sure. But we should come up with a better term for big dick energy. So to be fair, like, you could also argue that the energy bit is a bit metaphysical, so literally anyone, whether or not they possess the appropriate parts, can have the energy of having a big dick.
Yeah, the one problem with that is that like, the concept of having a big dick energy is, like, it's not actually that, like...
Okay.
As far as I can tell, it seems like most people who have a big dick don't really give off the energy of, like, a... They give off more the energy of someone who is weighed low by their sins.
Yeah, I have statistically backed knowledge and data on this to confirm that, yes.
Yeah, like the ridiculousness of the concept of having of like big dick energy really comes to the surface when you start saying like big vag energy, and it's like, oh, that just seems uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's not very. I don't know
I
why that
mean,
would give you authority. It just seems kind of like hard to walk around.
big dick energy is like a concept thought of and especially named by people who would like to LARP what they think having a big dick is like.
Yes. This is also an anthropology corner, I suppose.
We are doing so well, though. We are
We're doing
finally
great.
started talking about the episode. So
Yes, we
yeah,
have.
this Durgar lady has top energy. Is this
She
better?
has top energy. Yes, that's better.
It clashes a bit with Vexus, who also is the only top in this group, and we stand
The
by this
only
assessment.
top. Keyleth can kind of do it, but like not very well.
Yeah, Keyleth and Rock can kind of do it, and Pike also sort of, but like Vex is on top.
Vex is the uber top. She is the uber top of this group.
We have a scientifically backed ranking of this,
which we disagree on constantly. So don't think this is a hive mind, because we go through vigorous scientific discussion of this metric.
Yes, though to be fair, I think most disagreements on the list so far come from the fact that there's also Mighty 9 members on it. We might have to rethink that.
Yes, we do, and you still think that like Vax could theoretically top Percy, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think Vax could top a disposable paper cup.
Was that my?
One of us thought that Vax could top Percy, and we may have gone back on this now, but we definitely have a certain disagreement about whether Percy or Vax could top each other. And I generally think this is a kind of a moot theoretical argument. This is the semantics of it all, because like I actually don't think they would have sex. I think that even in the worst of their hate sex was they would just kind of cuddle angrily.
Oh boy. For just 20 subscribers to our Patreon, we are going to publish our official ranking.
Yep, that's definitely going on the ranking. Alright, back to the... Can we please talk about Keyleth studying? Can we please go back to Keyleth studying?
Is this like... is this where we at now? Okay, yeah, awkward throat slitting, and then Keyleth goes study stuff.
Yes. Nobody knows anything about healing. No one knows anything about religion. They all just take turns looking at a symbol and being like, Is
this one of those times when I would love to have, like, Pathfinder knowledge? Because it seems like this is the first time Keyleth has ever healed.
And what if a few times Keyleth will heal?
We are going to keep this a tally because I remember Keyleth healing a lot, actually.
She heals a little bit, but, like, she's mostly an offensive player. And we've talked about this.
She is, and she should be. She is, and she should be an offensive player because druids get to do so much fun, cool, awesome, amazing shit.
Druids are so fun. But yes, I think that it legitimately... This also... I wonder how much of this is Pathfinder and how much of this is sort of like... That's something that I actually kind of like about the early arc before Pike comes in, is that you really actually get a sense of like the whole in the party without Pike. Like
you do
it
because they're not
stressed.
Yeah, you can like kind of tell that they were very reliant on Pike's healing before they started the stream.
Yeah, and this goes back to like my CR1 bias, where it's like I feel like Yasha is makes the party a lot better. In the Mighty Nine, I think that like the party is a lot more fun with Yasha around, especially the Yasha and Jester relationship, which I really enjoy. But I also think that the party, because it was created before, after, it was created.
The Mighty Nine was created very much knowing that Ashley would be out of commission for stretches of the campaign.
Yeah, whereas Vox Machina was not created with that in mind, and it really, you get a sense of when Pike is not around, they are not prepared for Pike to not be around.
I mean, Pike was also not around for the first sessions they've ever had, but you can just kind of tell that over the years since then they have become very reliant on Pike and her healing.
Yeah, and when Pike's not around, they talk about Pike and they mention Pike and they talk about like the things that Pike would do. Like it's very interesting. I think that like to watch the first episodes without like meeting Pike, but meeting people who have met Pike and like know Pike very intimately, because like you get the same sense of like talking to a friend group. Like, have you ever been in a high school situation where your high school friends had a middle school friend who like goes to a different high school?
No, because my school system doesn't work like that.
Okay, that makes sense. I have had high school friends who've had like shared mutual like middle school friend who went to a different high school, and this is exactly that relationship. So they keep talking about someone that you haven't met, and you're like, oh, you seem to really like that person. They sound cool. Oh well.
That sounds like a very good analogy. Can't really relate.
My experiences are not relatable.
They are probably very relatable for people who went to a comparable school system, but like, I mean, they might be relatable to people in my school system too. I was just in the unique position that I was the only one from my elementary school going through my secondary school. And so everyone else who was there had like maybe a friend from their old elementary school with them, but not very much, and we were just very mixed. Some people knew each other beforehand, quite a few just didn't know anyone in the class. And, yeah, so I was never in that situation. And then I changed schools again, and everyone else knew each other, and I didn't know anyone. My experiences are not relatable. Yours probably are to our audience.
Neither of our experiences are relatable, let's be honest with ourselves. So let's see. Kima scraps.
Yes, they find like a sigil of Bahamut she probably put up there for like protection. It takes them a long time to figure out what it is, and that this is the good dragon, and the Kima was probably here.
This is the good dragon. This is Daddy Dragon.
This is Daddy Dragon. Mommy Dragon is the bad one with the 5 heads and the colors and stuff.
Do you think that they ever, explore each other's bodies?
What?
Well, you know how like gods are.
No. What?
Evil gods have sex with good gods sometimes.
I'm like quite certain that the dragon gods did. You think they're exes?
I don't think they're exes so much as I think that.
Do you think Bahamut is exes with 1 or 2 specific heads of Tiamat?
I think they're all kind of one individual in this circumstance. I think that like, if you're both dragons and you're the daddy dragon and she's the mommy dragon, and like.
I'm pretty sure that daddy and mommy are identities we are projecting upon them.
Are they though? Because Tiamat is literally the mother of dragons.
Huh. But only of the chromatic ones, right?
Only the chromatic ones. I think that if you spend an eternity being like the daddy good dragon and the mommy evil dragon, you'd probably like try things out, right?
And now we all know what Bai would do if she was the parental dragon god.
I need for sure. Did you really need me to spell that out for you, or you could have guessed?
I try not to think about God's sex lives. Thank you. Well,
I know that's not right. I know that you do, but okay. Just not these specific gods.
At least I wasn't like I was not raised in the constant fear that my god would randomly impregnate me, okay? This is just a rumor.
This is just a rumor.
This is not a thing that we are actually trained to believe. At least in my thing we weren't.
Yeah. After that there's some rumbling in the ground. It doesn't really go anywhere.
Like they sleep and there's rumbling and everyone is like, oh no, the shit is going to go down, but then no shit happens.
And then they start the ritual casting of Greater Restoration, which is a very interesting thing that I don't think they ever do again.
Yeah, this is like one involved Greater Restoration casting. Like there's like significant greater restorations later down in the campaign, but they're never quite this ritualized. This is like treated basically like a resurrection. There are actual resurrections happening in this campaign, and especially the next, that go off with less of a big deal made about them.
Yes, which makes me sad to think about. Campaign 2 having only one resurrection ritual and it failed.
Massive spoilers, but also like...
Massive spoilers, but also completely irrelevant to the rest of the campaign.
It failed in, air quotes.
Air quotes, yes, failed. Quote,
it wouldn't have failed if they just started an orgy on Wally's dead body as he would have wanted. This is my hot take. It got me like 20 likes on Twitter and when the time was happening. I will stand by it, and if you pay us enough money to get there in like 10 years or so, I will get into it again, if I remember to.
You've reduced me to honking.
You are a goose. This is fine.
I'm a goose. I'm a goose on the internet. So then they begin, so they do this ritual casting. We're not going to discuss in the uncomfortable section the fact that Scanlan apparently has a little Pike idol that he caresses.
Yeah, Scanlan is like, there are many, many uncomfortable moments with Scanlan in this campaign.
Many, many, many uncomfortable moments in this campaign. You think that he improves, and in some regards he does improve. But in many regards he doesn't.
Yeah, because, like, actual, like, resolved improvement would have needed more than 15 episodes for the final arc.
Yeah, and I think that, like, fundamentally, like, I don't think Sam gets it. I really think that Sam doesn't get it. I think that he, like, changes the surface level of, like, Scanlan's behavior, but he doesn't change the ethos of Scanlan. I think that fundamentally Scanlan has a very kind of ethos to treat women, and, like, he changes his surface behavior. He no longer, like, is creepy towards Pike, and I cannot stress how big of a change, and, like, how positive of a change it is when he stops creeping at Pike. It's wonderful. But, like, on a fundamental psychological level, he is still a Scanlan short-halt, and he still thinks of Pike in a very particular way.
We'll get into it when we get there.
We will.
Everybody take a shot whenever we say that. Or don't. We don't condone alcohol poisoning.
Don't. Sip some water, please.
Everybody stay hydrated whenever we say that.
So they do the ritual casting and involves, as we've stated, a smooch from Laura.
It does. Like, just this isn't the last time they smooch on screen.
No, it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
It does happen. It is kind of cute when it happens. The next time is going to be hilarious. This one was already very funny.
Yes.
Yeah, and then this whole thing ends with Grog just giving Keyleth the biggest bear hug.
Which is really cute. And then he pours out a little goblet of ale and toasts. And they toast him.
Grog and Keyleth are so good together. They are. They're
so fun. I hope they go on like a... Can I pitch a comic book to the Critical Role that's like, hey, I know you guys are really invested in like Mighty Nine Origins or whatever the fuck, but can we do instead a Keyleth and Grog and Vilya comic book?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes, or just I can honestly see Keyleth and Grog just being like, wow, our coupled up friends with all the children are sure annoying. Let's go on an adventure together.
Yeah, and Keyleth just got her mom back, and guess what? Big spoilers, but Keyleth has her mom. Spoilers. The biggest spoilers. But Keyleth has her mom back, and hey, you know what would be cool? If Keyleth got her mom up to level 20 druid, and then her mom and her would have immortality together. So what would be a fun thing to do? Would be
so Keyleth and Grog go power level Vilya?
Yeah.
Oh boy, that you okay?
Tell me that wouldn't be fun.
Excuse me for being a little weirded out by the whole immortality with my mom bit, but
I mean, yes, it's not ideal, but at the same time, would you rather be immortal alone?
Could Vilya just repeat her Aramente and then they can share leader duties?
Yeah.
Huh.
We can switch off every few years. Be like, okay, now you get to be the leader, and then I get to be the leader, and then no children will have to do the stressful thing again.
Up until we both die in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Enough time to come up with a better system.
Exactly. I just think this is the preferred method. Anyway.
Hit us up, Critical Role, or something.
Hit us up,
God is a professional writer.
I can write this for you. I'll do this for you. Anyway. Scanlan drug hard-ons. We don't need to talk about that. That makes me comfy.
So, God, this is going to be a point of discussion later on, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Paint noises.
Ugh.
Okay, and so once we are over all of that, and remember that there's a plot to go to, Laura starts her first ever favorite terrain negotiation with Matt, because, like, technically her favorite terrain is the Underdark, but are they in the Underdark? And Matt is like, well, you're, like, almost in the Underdark, so fine, you're going to get advantage on everything. Or just this roll. It's, gonna be a thing.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a thing. Get used to this.
Yes.
Which, like, I think it would probably be less of a thing if, like, the actual, like, favorite enemy and favorite terrain things were useful. But at the same time, I also think
it would be less
Laura...
of a thing if Ranger, Beastmaster, the class, as in Vanilla, as in available in 2015, had been useful.
Yes, and had been fun to play. But I also just think that, like, Laura would have probably found something else to debate about, because Laura just likes to debate. She's just a debate player. She's a lot like Amy Carrera as in EXU. She's just the kind of player who likes to, like, be like, can I do this? Well, what if I do this?
Yeah, and, like, I don't remember any time when I found it particularly grating. Like, sometimes it's just, sometimes you just need to know, and sometimes it's good to look out for yourself and your advantages.
Yeah, it can be very fun. I think it just is a matter of, like, being flexible and not, like, and I think that both Laura and Amy Carrera take a no very, very gracefully. Like, they're just like, oh, okay, that's a no. I'll try something else.
If your DM says no to your creative use of rules as written or whatever, take it gracefully and don't start sulking.
Which I think late campaign Vax, late campaign Leo wasn't very good at.
We'll get there when we get there.
Take
Stay hydrated.
But yeah, I think that it's fine. It doesn't grate on me. I think it's okay. We come across a goblin village.
A goblin ghost village.
A goblin shell village, if you will.
Sure.
It's a ghost in a shell.
Yeah, I got that.
All of their brains have been sucked up. What's the joke?
I don't think I know enough about Ghost in the Shell to understand this joke, but our listeners probably thought it was amazing. Okay, so okay, anyways, yes, they come upon this goblin village, and they all had their brains slurped out.
Yes. Delicious brains slurped out.
And we then learn that there weren't only classes on balancing 3 daggers at a time and at Assassin School, which is for assassins. No, Vax also got to read the monster manual in that school.
I will say that this is the only, not the only time, but I think that, like, I will commend Liam for, like, staying in character throughout the discussions. Like, very in character. Like, whenever he talks about, like, a monster thing, he'll be like, our tutor taught us about this.
Our tutor, which is something we call the teachers and professors at Assassin School, which is for assassins.
Sure. My monster tutor, who taught us monsters. In Assassin School.
We are going to write this, like we are going to drag this dead horse all around this campaign. Have we managed one episode without an Assassin School for Assassins joke? Yeah, I don't think we have.
If this has been going over your head, we do not support the Assassin School thing. We think it's stupid.
It kind of doesn't mesh up with the way the twins talk about the background, and it definitely doesn't, like, add up with what we see of Singorn.
Especially not
in this episode. Of course, to notice that, you would have had to seen the Feywild and Singorn arc before writing a comic book, and we will not go there.
Imagine that. Imagine watching the campaign.
Imagine doing a little bit of research.
Imagine being a Bria and actually watching the thing.
Yes! Imagine being a Bria and actually putting some thought into this. And doing the research. This has impressed me so much with EXU that just, like, we go to Byrodin, and a Bria did her research, and a Bria did some thinking about how Byrodin would have developed after, being dragonated, and also having the twins be from there.
And it's so impressive to see, like, how a person could, take creativity and, like, make creative choices and, like, be like, this is kind of my version of this. This is my version of Byrodin. And it's very much her version of Byrodin, but it's clear that she actually, like, had thought about what Byrodin would look like, and like, it is both her Byrodin and a Byrodin which fits into the universe in a very elegant way.
Which you can basically say about everything she portrayed in EXU that we have seen before.
And is the exact opposite of what you can see in a lot of other choices that other people have made.
At time of recording, we have not consumed any material that has come out after August 15th. We do not know what Kith and Kin ended up looking like.
Fingers crossed.
We have high hopes.
So they're trying to arrange themselves in such a way so that the person at the front would be smartest, so that if they get stuck with another intellect devourer, the person won't get knocked unconscious immediately.
First of all, it helps that they don't have an intelligence caster in their midst, so like the int skill is could have been a dump stat for most of them.
Yes. Vox Machina is a party full of himbos. I do not care.
They are not actually, like, they have some legitimately decent intelligence scores, just
they're very robust.
Not quite yet.
Yes.
I'm going to look up. I'm going to look up
has a 16 intelligence.
Scores. Yes, this will not stand. Character stats. Yeah, like, I don't think anyone really put any intelligence into things. We will see. Past members. Tiberius only had a 14 intelligence. Okay. Like, this would have been my only thought that...
about Tiberius.
Well, it's really not surprising what Tiberius is for wisdom score, which, a player played into, for sure.
Yeah, what's really surprising about Tiberius is its high charisma.
Yeah, well...
Charisma casters. So
yeah,
Percy,
well...
I'm shocked by how robust Percy's stats are. Like, Percy has pretty good stats all around. Like, not
Percy
amazing.
and Keyleth basically have demigod stats.
Yeah, they're really... I mean, I guess, the thing that I want to say is robust stats. Like, they're just kind of like, they don't have a dump stat.
They don't. Percy's lowest stat is a strength, and his strength is 12.
Pretty good.
Which makes it like the... Well, okay, he is below everyone but the twins with that. Oh, he's even below Vax. Why does Vax have 14 strength? Who
Paladin.
knows? Maybe. Yeah, Percy eventually leveled up his intelligence to 20. I didn't know Scanlan had an intelligence of 16. Jesus. Okay.
They didn't talk about the rules for a while.
Do you want to talk about rules?
No, they talk about the rules for a while. And
they do.
Vax is like, I don't understand what all these stats. What are you talking about?
He does that.
He's a silly little boy.
Yes. And like when they are discussing how to deal with the intellect devourer possibility and who's the smartest and whom's to put at the front, Marisha is trying to make a point, I think, or is making a point that you could interpret to mean that technically it's more important how high your saving throw against the thing that's going to attack you is than just your pure intelligence score, but this is like just teasing something out of there.
Yes.
Yes, and while and during those rules, Sam does, for the first time, the thing he will keep doing every time there's a break. He will
start... call to action?
Yeah, he tells you all to subscribe to Geek and Sundry. And later on he will tell you to support the sponsors.
Yeah. If only they had done that to Gilmore as well.
They try to, eventually.
They try to.
And like the thing is, Sam has a very good voice for ad reads.
He really does. He has a good like radio voice. So it's like
or like a store announcement voice.
Yes, he's like a clothing store spokesperson. Like 50% off at the Gap.
He's just a spokesperson, really. You just give him something to read, and he just have the most neutral sounding, pleasant, just some guy from nowhere voice.
Yes, this is part of the reason why it's always a hard to remember that he's 6 feet tall. Is that you always expect him to be standing on a soapbox.
Sam is very tall.
He's very tall. It's upsetting.
Yeah. Also, a thing that is going on at the time is this was back in the days when we were all young and naive, and they were like, they had the chat send them pizza and iced tea.
Truly, this is insane to me. This is crazy. This is crazy pants. What are you doing? Why are you accepting food from strangers on chat boxes? Like, what?
I'm going to hope that somebody just, like, had, like, a money pool thing going and ordered pizza and, like, from, like, regular pizza joint in the area for them.
I truly hope so.
They have since stopped doing it. Don't send pizza to the Critical Role Studios when you think they might be doing something in there.
Yeah,
don't send pizza to the Critical Role Studios, period.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
It is a little creepy.
If they accepted every time that somebody on chat wanted to send them a pizza, they would just always be eating pizza.
There would be entire restaurant chains in LA dedicated to serving them pizza.
Yes. So they don't do this anymore. But just like they don't open presents on stream anymore. I'm more upset with the not opening presents on stream anymore.
Yeah, those were some good moments every time.
That was some good hashtag content.
They used to either just open presents at the end of a stream or before a stream, just whenever. Then they had like dedicated Christmas parts where they would open presents, and then they had just had periscopes. We had periscopes. This is 5 years ago, and I don't think anybody still knows what 6 years ago, and I don't think anybody knows what periscopes are anymore. I mean, I barely knew at the time, but
no, but I watched some of these live.
What?
Yes, I watched at least one periscope live.
Fascinating. Yeah. Anyways, keep sending them presents. Don't send them food.
Yes, and don't expect them to open your presents. That might never happen.
They stealth onwards, everybody rolls well except for Grog, and the entire group seems to be weirdly eager to tattle on Grog, rolling a 6.
They're such school children.
Yeah.
Like, this is not to their benefit. They're not benefiting from this. This is a group stealth. But yet they're so eager. Just like, Grog rolled a 6.
So eager. Teacher, Grog rolled a 6.
The flying carpet.
Oh yeah, they like come upon like a crevasse, not a boob-shaped one. And on the other side of that crevasse, there is a war camp with Durgar, and there's these bridges? What are they called?
What do you mean? Like a rope bridge?
Yeah, that one, a rope bridge. They just have like one of those, cliched adventure cartoon thingy rope bridges spanning across that crevasse, and on the other side there's the Durga camp.
And they start formulating a plan.
No, they don't.
Not yet?
No, Scanlan first walks through the camp, invisibly.
Oh, right. He's so brave and so hung.
What she said.
Yeah, that's something that he says. I don't need this. I don't believe in this. But he does do that.
For a reason.
Terrible.
Yeah, and they just discover it's like there's some waffing about mind flayers versus illithid and who knows what, but it's big tentacly dudes who do slurp brains and do other nasty stuff, and those are in charge, and there's some big bats, well, not big bats, but like big hulks of hit points and pain, like trolls. Many more Durgar, some dwarves in mind control. They're actually taking in dwarven prisoners.
There's some trolls on leashes, which, like, there might be children around. Like, I just don't think this is appropriate during Pride. I mean, there's spaces for this.
It's August. We won't have to deal with this Discord for at least another 10 months.
I just think that, like, you know, there might be children around to see someone like this.
At a war camp?
Holding it.
Do you think the Durgar soldier people take their children to work with them? Do you think that? And do you honestly think that Durgar children who are taken to war camps with brain-slurping mind flayers in them would be more traumatized by trolls engaging in kink than by mind-slurping? This is I'm pretty sure the kink that the trolls are engaging is not consensual here. This is like, why did you have to go there, darling? Why?
Because I have to. Because I had to. Look at me. I had to.
This is what I have to deal with, you guys.
This is why I edit the podcast to atone for my sins.
Oh gosh, she has the power over all of us.
Ultimate power.
We have talked about many disturbing and weird shit this episode for some reason. But somehow Pride discourse applied to trolls that are somewhere between enslaved and mind-controlled is this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing now.
This is a serious podcast. Just pay us for this. I can't believe you're hearing this for free.
Do we now have to add a sexual content warning in the beginning?
Yep.
Sexual content warning and also Twitter brain rot.
Anyway, tell me what happens next.
What happens next is that Tiberius also got to read the monster manual at some point and got water on it. Wait, no, that's when they try to figure out if it's Mind Flayer, Mind Slayer, Hinnegidahimina. It's just like, this is a gentle, like, the same with Vax recalling that there once was a tutor at whatever educational facility he actually went to, whom showed him a monster that he, Liam, the player, might have known about from his own D&D knowledge. This is like the gentlest of metagaming, and it is still sort of metagaming, and you're sitting there like, can you maybe roll for this first?
Yeah, I much prefer the version. Like, I think that, like, in a ranked way, I would say that Merge, like, Kirot is the best way to do it, followed by Vax, and lastly by Tiberius.
Mostly on principle, yes.
Yeah, because, like, Marisha at least, like, rolls for it, and Kirot's whole, like, thing is, like, well, like, I knew that these things existed, and we never really called them mind flayers, we've only ever called them elephant, and I honestly thought it was kind of a legend. Hashtag Vox Machina planning sessions TM, copyright pending.
Oh yeah, we get the first one of these.
Yes. Which again, I have no idea what, like, as is with most Vox Machina planning sessions, my brain just kind of makes static noises as they talk, and I cannot picture anything they're talking about.
So you are with Grog on this one.
I mean, like, I think that I can list the amount of Vox Machina plans that have made sense to me on one hand. And, like, the most of them that has ever made sense has just been like, hey, we have one dragon, and we have a second dragon, and we have this Garistro. What if we put them all in one place and made them fight?
Yeah, this is the thing about Vox Machina planning sessions, TM, copyright, whatever, hashtag, I don't know. Sometimes they make very good plans. Sometimes Laura has ideas and then they make very good plans. Sometimes Cash comes in and is like, you guys suck at planning, I'm gonna take command, and it's a little grating, but at least something gets done. Most Vox Machina planning sessions are just exceedingly long, talking in circles, throwing more and more abilities at the wall to see if something sticks. And then nothing were ever working out and everything going to shit anyways.
But then salvaging everything because they're the heroes, and of course they can.
And because they're higher level players with high power classes and they just make it through. Did they get any better at planning as the Mighty Nine? Did they?
Yeah, but somehow their plans still continue to fail even more spectacularly. There's like a real chart that you can find about like the complexity of the plan to execution of the plan. And it generally is like the simpler the plan, the better the execution. The more complex the plan, the worse the execution.
I'm pretty sure that's like a Sun Tzu quote. The Art of War dude.
Probably. I don't think he was referring to D&D campaigns, but in this case it very much is the thing where like Vox Machina plans were stupid and they never worked. But like they worked somehow often by the skin of their teeth and like a big dumb heroes moment.
No plan survives first contact with the enemy, which I think is a legitimate quote.
Yes. Whereas Mighty Nine plans are often very good and very well executed, and they really thought about them and they really strategized them out, and they did not work even a little bit.
Amazing.
Anyway.
Yeah, so I think like the core problem with this plan, after having gone over it not a few times, but I watched it and was like, huh? And I watched how it turned out, and I was like, yeah, figures. And then I read the very detailed recap of the plan on the Critical Role wiki, which is amazingly detailed, with its summaries of what happens during the episode. If you have trouble processing audio or just paying attention for extended amounts of time of people talking while nothing in particular is happening, just reading up on the bits you might have spaced out on this wiki is probably a good idea. Somebody has been planning it very meticulously. Probably several somebodies. Shout out. We.
So what do they do? What is this plan?
Okay, so what they are trying to do, I presume, is to take out everyone in this war camp. And, I mean, of course, without having to, engage in direct combat with them. And they have a big crevasse separating them from the war camp with, a dingy little bridge. And the plan is always to cut the bridge, hopefully while people are on it. They do, however, work under the assumption that the Durga, or the opposing forces are going to care about the other side of the crevasse. They have to lure them out, of course. But they also, okay, so what basically makes...
They don't care about the other side of the crevasse.
They don't. What makes this plan go wrong is that the Durga just cut the goddamn bridge themselves, basically, after they figure out that there's a thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't need to cross it. It's fine.
They don't really care about what's on the other side. It's like some assholes who are harassing them now. Lovely. Yeah. No fucks given. I mean, you could say the plan is kind of successful because they do manage to get a few trolls into the crevasse and some other people. They do legitimately reduce the number of enemies at the war camp. They also get rid of the only means to get there that don't involve the flying carpet, and the flying carpet is almost lost during the entire scenario because Vax had to go be live bait on the other side.
Yep. Vex and Keel decide that they want to explore, which we are always for because, hashtag girl power. Why am I saying hashtag a lot?
That's just the zeitgeist, darling. Which is how you pronounce it. The Z is hard. It's zeitgeist, not a zeitgeist or whatever you guys want. Zeitgeist.
Zeitgeist?
Zeitgeist. It's like...
Sight?
Hard. Yes!
Zeitgeist.
Yes!
Alright.
This has been your German lessons with Jana.
It's been a good German lesson.
One of these days I'm going to get you to say he correctly.
One of these days we can hope. So Vex and Keel want to explore. The guys all want to attack.
Yeah, after the attack went wrong and Vax had to retreat, he lost the carpet because he didn't get his brain slurped, But he was rendered unconscious by a mind flayer illicit person.
Yes.
And then the carpet plummeted, and then they had to get it, and then they discovered those caves. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which Vex and Keyleth want to explore. Everyone else is like, no, let's just figure out how to attack the war camp, or fly over, or just leave this path of the dungeon alone.
Which I can't blame them for, but also, like, come on. The DM went into flushing this out. You're not going to explore it?
I mean, Vex makes a good point on that they are supposed to go deep, and going down and maybe circumventing the war camp might not be the worst idea.
She's not wrong.
I mean, I'm usually in favor of taking the most direct approach, but that just failed, basically. And they're out of your resources, and they definitely need a better plan and approach. Like,
I'm always a fan of, like, proactive metagaming, is what I would call it, where, like, yes, it is true that the characters would want to do one thing, and that is the players would want to do another thing, and that in this scenario, the players know something that the characters do not, which is that this is a constructed world. So, but also I think that, like, metagaming to the level where, like, the DM is also having fun.
Right, because, like, the players know that there probably wouldn't be caves down there if there wasn't something to them, but the characters wouldn't know that because caves are just a thing that happens.
Yeah, caves are just a thing that happens, but the players obviously
Real life caves don't have little treasure chests at the end of them just for you to pick up.
No, but the players know fundamentally the DM wouldn't describe there being caves if they didn't, like, on some level want them to explore the caves, or at least put that as an option.
Yep, pretty much.
So I'm always a fan. I think that both sides of the debate are valid in this situation where it is valid to act on the part of your characters and not as the part of the players, but I also think that it just is, I think that I personally have had more fun doing what the players have done this during what Vex and Keyleth do, which is like, hey, let's check it out. It's probably something interesting there.
Yeah, and again, just the approach of we have to go deep, so why not just go down? Or, like, maybe we can find a way around it down there. Is, like, not even out of character. It's not even completely metagaming.
No, it's a completely, like, within universe reasoning.
Yeah, so they talk in circles around it a lot until Grog calls for a vote, which is what he does when he gets bored.
Yes. Grog loves democracy.
Grog loves democracy. Tiberius apparently doesn't.
Because he's from a political family, but specifically he's from a draconian political family.
He's from, like, a slaver family.
Yeah.
He says he doesn't believe in their system. And it's, like, it's cutely naive that Keyleth assumes that being from a political family means you must be pro-democracy, which,
Nope. Not in this situation. Nope. And not in many situations.
Absolutely not. So, like, they vote. Vex and Keyleth are handily outvoted.
I mean, yeah, though I guess it's not entirely fair.
How do you mean?
I mean that, like, I think that if you're going to do a vote, there has to be, like, a question of, like, if you are doing a vote and there's, like, obviously a majority party that's, like, going into a vote with the understanding that the majority party already, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to explain my reasoning here, which is that if, like, calling for, like, in this case, Grog is against exploring, right?
You mean the vote is superfluous because we already know that the majority of the people will vote against?
Yes, if the person calling for a vote is of the party that is clearly the majority, then he's just, like, it's obvious that the vote is just there to have an opportunity to tell them no.
I mean...
Like, you may as well just tell them no.
Yeah, but it's also just, like, doing something. I mean... first of all, darling, may I introduce you to something that is called democracy, parliamentary politics?
But I'm not talking about... Okay, but what I'm saying is that this is intra-party politics, this is not real world politics. And within intra-party politics, it's a bit of a dick move.
On the other hand, how are you going to decide in a situation like this what to do? I mean,
pros and cons, discussion. Or do exactly what they say.
That's what they've been doing for some time by the time Grog calls for a vote.
Yeah, or do exactly what ends up happening, which is that Keyleth and Vex just go and do it themselves.
Yeah, this is like one of the cases in which this is an option. They can just go off and explore on their own time without anybody else having to participate. That is true.
Yeah, I think if this was a situation where they couldn't have done that, then yes, that makes sense to actually just do a vote and be like, sorry, resources and everything. And I do actually, I mean, like, I'm not an anti-democracy person. I just think that, like, when you're talking about, I want to note that I am
We here on
for
Critical
politics.
Rollback are pro-democracy.
We are pro-democracy. But I just want to note that within small friend groups, doing this is kind of a dick move, and I have been on this end of it, where it's like, it's very
Okay.
clear from going into the vote what the result of the vote will be. Because you can very clearly, like with countrywide elections, you can't just look at the group and be like, I see 3 people are against this and 2 people are for it. So, like, we don't really need to hold a vote now, do we? A vote is just a method of telling you no. Like you said, like, the vote is superfluous.
I'm living in election hell right now.
I'm sorry.
You can be more sorry for me in a month.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's so bad.
I'm so sorry. So, after this horrible foray into politics discussion, which was a mistake,
Sure, yeah, let's go with that.
Vex and Keyleth just do it anyway.
They commandeer the carpet and fly down into the caves.
Vex and Keyleth steal an election.
And then Tiberius was very bad at reading the room and is like, okay, you're down there, I'm going to fly here, take the carpet, and get all the others, because they clearly want to come down here too.
This was stupid. I didn't like it.
It was. And he also just said, like, I did this and nobody got to debate it, and you can tell that Laura and Marisha aren't happy with that.
No.
It's also weird.
He's also, like, very metagamey in this, like, last... I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just... Tiberius not tolerable in this last couple, but he's really bad.
I mean, he's ever barely tolerable, but this, like... I mean, I kind of enjoyed the bit about Draconians not believing in democracy.
No, yes, I agree with that, but, like, the last bit where... I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but, like, when he's just like, oh, they found a new person. I'm gonna immediately trust him and talk to him as though that I've been, like, a part of this discussion. It's like, no, you
Clearly, I
weren't
have to be
there.
part of this bit of plot.
You weren't there, and you were against this.
He wasn't for or against anything, he abstained.
That's true.
But he's very much going like, oh, I see there's something interesting happening. Of course this can't proceed without my presence.
Yes, exactly. So, Vex and Keyleth find a friend.
Yeah, a big tentacly friend called Clarota.
Don't you know the tentacly friends are the best friends?
I do not, and I question how you know that.
Anyway.
Oh god, is this where we are all about dick jokes? Because this is a tentacle episode? Oh god.
Perhaps. So they find Clarota, who is an illithid who has been rejected from his hive mind because he has arcane powers.
An arcane mark or something? He also has like a tinfoil hat. Literally,
yes,
that keeps him safe.
A shoddy Magneto helmet.
Yeah, that sort of keeps him safe from the hive mind, not have. Is have even a word? It's just on a postcard.
I think it is, but now I can't remember.
Have?
Anyway, like behave.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so he's desperate and beaten up and like just a sad little orphan girl.
He's also very
that
tall.
One all the
he's
way
like
around.
7 feet tall.
Yes, he's a very big tentacled dude. I don't know. Like Matt uses it pronouns for Clarota here, but I think they eventually settle on he. Yeah. So we're just going to stick with he because like person.
Yes. We're just gonna stick with he. It's fine. He doesn't seem to mind being treated as a male. I don't really think he has a gender, but like...
Oh yes, let's of course divulge into gender roles and also... just gender roles of illithid. That's...
This is... to this...
Illicit syphilis.
In this path, there is only ruin.
You have steered us towards so many paths of nothing but ruin in this podcast, darling.
I'm a bad navigator. I'm a terrible navigator.
So many.
Somebody
Why
take
you
the helm. Somebody, please.
Yeah, well, anyway, so Clarota is like basically orphaned from his hive mind and sad and perks up and becomes personable when they offer him revenge.
Revenge. A dish
and Vex
according to
very high on
ContraPoints
persuasion.
only ever served cold.
Sure. So Vex rolls high on persuasion, and they manage to get Clarota out of there with the carpet that Tiberius has to come back and bring back to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Clarota gets sung at by Scanlan.
Seems to like it.
Yeah. Everyone is grooving, and like you can tell that Matt is only grooving because Matt is grooving, not because Clarota is grooving. But then Clarota is like tapping his toe.
Yeah, I'm going to confess the fact that I've always been kind of a little bit sad that Clarota, like from the first time I watched the campaign, I was always a little bit sad that Clarota didn't become like a friendly NPC forever. Spoilers.
We will go into that. We will get there when we get there.
We will get there when we get there. It would have been
hilarious.
Take a sip.
It would have been hilarious, but it was not to be. And rewatching this, it's also not what Clarota promises.
Yep.
Like, they inside check Clarota, and Clarota very much wants revenge on Kvarn, who has corrupted the hive mind. Clarota says literally nothing about what the hive mind would do without the corruption, or what Clarota is going to do with or without the party after the corruption has been cleared.
Yep. Clarota makes no such promises about protecting the party after the
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
Vex tries to raise the point, but the somehow is dropped and never brought up again in this episode at least. And doesn't get them anywhere. So that's just like, keep that in mind. Clarota did not break any promises.
Nope. What he did was not honorable per se, but it certainly wasn't a promise broken.
Certainly was not.
Yeah, and that's we kind of end on a note of Clarota saying, let's go and kill Kvarn. He doesn't say it in that kind of cool tone.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. It's
dun, dun, dun.
I will say that I genuinely think this last half of the episode is kind of where the campaign clicked for me, where I feel like the campaign kind of clicks into place. It's not a perfect click. It's not quite the best, CR1 at its best, but it feels like,
there is something here.
There's something here.
There's something there that wasn't there before. Yeah, I agree. There's something like engaging about having a big tentacled monster help your party for revenge instead of just slurping the brains out.
And I will even say there's something engaging about watching the sort of the attack on the Duragar camp and it's not exactly followable, but it's starting to be a little bit more engaging. Things are happening.
Yeah, and there's dynamics at play in this Duragar camp with the kidnappings and the brine and the mind controllings and stuff. There's again, the plot is at the other side of this crevasse that is waving and tossing us crumbs.
Yes. This is definitely not the episode where things step into gear, but if you're wanting to wonder hey, when does the Underdark get going? I will say that episode 3 is pretty much where it gets going.
Episode 3, post-break.
Yes, post-break.
Yeah, so that's basically... Do you have anything else to say about the episode proper? Any gun tangents you want to go on?
I actually don't have any gun tangents. There's no gun show in this one. I noticed nothing.
I mean the gun misfires for the first time, and Percy has to spend an action, part of an action clearing it, but other than that, okay.
Yeah, other than that, okay. He uses it to cauterize a wound at some point. I don't know enough about guns to know if that works or not.
It is hot.
It is hot, but I don't know if it's warm enough.
Barrel hot. The movies have told me it is, and would you question Talison's wisdom on guns?
Oh, never. I would never question Talison's wisdoms on guns. He knows far more about pepper boxes than I will ever know, because he was there to watch their invention.
Yep, he sure was. I also can't think of anything else I would like to say about this episode. So,
shall we go ahead with the very, very scientific, Academy-approved, accredited Purvan Scale?
super special, awesome, mega foxy, awesome, hot.
The peer-reviewed Purvan Scale?
Sure, let's the Purvan Scale,
Scale.
a joke that will make sense in 40 episodes. Ish.
It's coming closer every day.
It's coming closer, just like Orion Akaba's departure.
So, the V in Purvan stands for pizzazz. What are we giving this episode for pizzazz?
I don't really think there's like any standouts, but we could give a point for Travis's glasses.
Yeah, I'll give a point for Travis's glasses, but not really anything else, I'll admit, though. You know, there's no, like, trinket around yet. Nobody's wearing any
The set is the same as it was. We don't get any maps.
There's no exciting outfits.
It's just like a nothing burger except for the glasses, so the glasses get a point. Yeah.
1 point! We give it 1 point for pizzazz. Strong start.
Woo, woo, woo! The U is for uncomfortableness.
This is going to be the long one.
We're going to lose a lot of points here, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean...
We have to deduct for the torture, the cannibalism, the half-chubs.
The half-chubs, slightly more so than the cannibalism, I will say. And,
you heard it here first, folks. Bal finds boners more objectionable than cannibalism.
Yes.
She doesn't deny it. You heard her. She said it.
The Pike idol being kept near Scanlan's groin. There's a couple of things here that are distinctly uncomfortable and they're never really talked about in a constructive way. Like, there's no point in which they're like, hey, is torture actually useful? Does torture actually get useful information? Which, spoiler alert, it doesn't.
No!
Yes,
nope,
I think
there were studies. The thing about torture is that people really, really want it to stop, so they will tell you anything you want to hear at some point.
Yep. People will just tell you anything, and most of the time it's completely useless information.
This is why we used to have witches walking the earth.
Yep, because if you torture someone enough, they'll just be like, yep, I totally had sex with the devil.
I totally can do magic now.
Uh-huh, for sure. Can the torture stop, please? No? Alright.
Because at least they're going to have to get a break between the torture and the burning.
Yes. So yeah, I think that because there was a lot of uncomfortableness, and also the uncomfortableness was ever discussed in a constructive way, this is probably going to be like a negative... I'm leaning towards like a -3 or -4.
Let's make it like a half point for the cannibalism, because that was like... Honestly, no, I agree that we probably can't really count the cannibalism against the implied one against this, because it is very much an in lore not actually happening and just used to upset your captors, which we have praised for being top energy.
Big top energy, yeah.
So, okay, yeah, 3 points seems appropriate.
3 points or 3.5?
3 points, I'd say. -3 points, which gives us...
-3 points.
This is a rating for -2 points.
Yay! Alright, next up.
That's yours.
Oh, shit. Sorry. The R in Purvan stands for role-playing realness. What are we ever at for role-playing realness? I actually think this was like a pretty good this episode, I think.
I struggle to think of any, like, moments, really.
Yeah, there wasn't any, like, particular moments I will commend Vax for staying in character and trying to pass meta information off as, like, in-character stuff. But, like...
Do we praise metagaming? Do we?
I mean, do we want to give points for the ritual? Because, like...
Oh!
It's pretty...
We can give it, like, a point.
Yeah, like a point. I will give it a point for the ritual. So, 1 point. So now we are -1.
Whoa! And the V is for vexiness. I'm not going to explain the pun again. You have to go watch other episodes. I explain it every time.
Just watch episode 0 already. Come on now.
Oh yeah, Session 0. Session 0 is a must-watch. We probably should have said this an hour ago. Or 2. We're approaching 2.
If you haven't watched episode 0 by now, what are you doing with your life?
Seriously. It's the shortest one, presumably.
Yes.
Though we might just cut like an entire hour and a half out of this one because we don't talk about anything useful.
Yes, we've been talking for 2 hours and maybe gotten like an hour and a half out of it.
If we're being very generous, yes.
If we're being very generous.
Anyways,
sure.
Vexiness.
What are we giving it for Vexiness?
Like a point?
For the torture scene?
Yeah, and the Chloroda scene.
And the Chloroda scene, yeah, I agree with that.
A point for the Chloroda scene, so we're at what, 0?
A point for the Chloroda scene, so we're at 0. Yeah, the A in Purvan stands for action.
We had very limited action this episode, but it was like, it was like a plan, and it happened, and it was fine.
It was fine. I think this is like a little bit interesting, and it definitely didn't overstay its welcome. There wasn't too much combat in this, which is often a problem with action. So I'm willing to. I'm at least in the positives. I don't think I'm willing to give it like a like higher than a 2. Like, I honestly think it's probably like a 0.5 or a 1.
Yeah, the 0.5 seems appropriate.
Yeah, 0.5.
0.5. So we're at 0.5 positive now?
Yes, 0.5 positive.
Lovely. And finally, the N is for 9 cents, which, I don't think is applicable to this.
No.
We didn't have any unmotivated shenanigans, we didn't have any shenanigans, we had nothing but plot.
Yeah.
Well,
which I
progression.
also think is like, because there's no like positive shenanigans either.
No. Well, no.
So I think it's like altogether pretty good. It's pretty tight, which I think is a
0.
good thing. You think it's a 0? I was actually leaning towards 1, but I'm also willing to give it a 0. Do you want to do a 0.5 or do you want to do a 0?
We can go halfsies.
Halfsies, okay, so this episode gets a single point.
A point! Whoa! The plot has gotten 1 point for its crumbs.
Yay!
Whatever. Whoa!
So.
Alrighty. And that has been episode 3 of Critical Rollback.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you had a fun time. Remember to check us out on Twitter and Tumblr and maybe even on Patreon.
Twitter and Tumblr, the only social media we are comfortable with. Patreon, which
and even then it's like kind of uncomfortable with, but like we'll deal with it.
The social media networks we're willing to deal with.
Yes.
Check out our Patreon, link in the description, where you can sign up for boosts for amazing boons like outtakes and my notes for this and early access and
our
what else
Anthropology Corner.
Yeah, Anthropology Corner. Q&A, maybe, if enough people are interested in that. You can get... We could be saying your name right now. I mean, we couldn't be because we haven't launched yet. All of this is pre-launch. So we might have tacked on some names by now, but at time of recording, it was pre-launch. And for our biggest tier, the $20 donation tier, you could get samples of our handwriting on a postcard.
Wow. No guarantee that it's going to look good.
But it's going to be our handwriting on a postcard that we will send to you once a month.
Going to be legitimate. Thank you to Lafayette for supplying the official art.
You can find her as Lulafia on Tumblr and at Tiuru, linked down below on Twitter. Friend of the show. We love you. Hi.
Hi, thank you. We love you.
And also thanks to Current Sun for providing the music we use for the intros, outros, segues. Anything musically you hear here is from him.
Yes, it's specifically Red Fox Tavern by Current Sun, so if you hear it at any point during the episode, you can be sure that's thanks to that guy. What is our opinion for this episode?
And remember, you can always girl boss, gaslight, gatekeep your way around election results you don't like. on an inter-party level.
Only on an inter-party level.
Do it responsibly.
Do it responsibly. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Love you all. Bye.